Hi guys, I'm Gray, and I'm here to talk to you about some of the new things introduced in Siege of the Atlas that you can use to take your Skeleton Mage's build to the next level, both in terms of damage and tankiness, and possibly you can apply some of the concepts in this video to other builds, but this is what I'm gonna talk about. Let's get straight into it. I'm gonna talk about several things in this video, but the main thing, what I would call the king concept of this video, is definitely this implicit on these boots. Drops brittle ground while moving, lasting 5 seconds. Enemies on the brittle ground at brittle hits have plus 5% crit chance against them. This is really strong. You basically just walk over to a boss, give it a love tap, and your minions have flat 5% crit against that boss. You see this icy blue trail behind me? That's the brittle ground. And I find it really, really strong. I'm gonna go on POB and show you the numbers comparison that this can bring. But first, I'm gonna show you a side-by-side comparison in the most scuffed way possible, I admit. But on the left side, I'm gonna walk to Maven, so she's on brittle ground, and on the right side, I'm not. Right here, I stay away from her to make sure I don't brittle her. And my minions are close to me to make sure that they get the buffs from my Animate Guardian and my monkeys. Right here, the whole party is on top of Maven because I want to brittle hit. So 3, 2, 1. And just look at the health bar. Left side with brittle, right side without brittle. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. In those fights, I didn't use my Bottle Faith or any of my Val skills. All I did was put Sniper's Mark on the Maven. It was not a representation of my damage, it was just a representation of how strong this brittle effect is. And I'm gonna go on POB and show you the numbers, etc. But as you can see, you see underneath the boss, resists chaos, and then it shows my shock effect and my brittle effect. Just to have to walk to him, and it lasts for a while, right? Like as long as he's on that ground, that lasts 5 seconds, he's brittled. And my minions have flat 5% crit against him. So, let's go over to POB. Okay, so, why? Oh, before I get ahead of myself, I'm sorry. Because I showed my gear already and I don't want anyone to get turned off by this. If, in case you want to follow along and try my setup, you do not need to unset rings. This is a massive... whenever I see a build showcase that uses unset rings, I don't like it. I don't like using unset rings, I don't know. And in this case, not using unset rings will be a good way to meet the resistance requirements of using Melting of the Flesh. I'll get onto that later. Right now I just want to talk about the boots. I just wanted to preface this real quick. So basically I'm using 2 unset rings because I wanted to use shield charge with faster attacks. That's the whole reason. At some point I was gonna swap off the unset rings, but I asked myself, do I value 7% life from Vermilion rings or a bit more resistances from 2 stone rings more than I value shield charge with faster attacks? And I do not. But that's a personal thing. If you are happy playing without shield charge, you definitely do not need to unset rings. Let's go to POB. This is my single target damage in a... I don't want to call it best case scenario, but this is not going to be your consistent damage, okay? This is like when you press all your cooldowns and some stars are aligned. Not all the stars are aligned. Like, if I wanted to go full POB warrior, clickbait video, whatever, I definitely, for example, tell you you have 3 frenzy charges and 3 power charges. I would say you have a pale seraphim. I'll touch on that later. But I would say you have a pale seraphim while also having those 3 charges, which I find unrealistic. And I would also say you have like 30 shock effect, you know, which you do, by the way, against most bosses. Where is my Maven clip? Like, as you can see here, the shock effect I have on Maven is 25%, right? 28%. So having a really high shock like that is believable, but I'd rather keep it at 10. Because I'd rather see my damage against tougher opponents, like Cozies in wave 30 and stuff. Against Cozies you get like 7, 6 shock effect, so it's less than that. But, yeah. Oh, what the fuck? This number was supposed to be 3. Anyway, I find that 2 frenzy charges, 2 power charges is not too out of this world. It's believable. I have both my Val skills up here, because it's to, like, think, oh, I'm on the last phase of the boss, or I'm about to nuke Ghosties in a simulacrum, then I press all my buttons, like it's Cyrus's last phase, it's Maven's last phase, so I have my Val skills, and they were in an immunity phase, so my Arena Master will not have his ability on cooldown, right? Because he doesn't use his ability if there's no enemies nearby. So like Cyrus comes down, the Arena Master uses this, so that's what I mean by like it's not it's kind of the best case scenario, but also kind of not. I also like don't assume full frenzy charges and stuff like that. But yeah, for example, this will be the damage without the Arena Master buff up, for example. Oh, by the way, I should have said this earlier, but this is definitely not a build guide, as in, if you have no idea what Skeleton Mage's build is, you should definitely not start with my video. If you are here, I'm assuming you've already looked into Skeleton Mages, and most likely are already playing Skeleton Mages yourself, okay? Should have said this earlier. Anyway, to show the impact of Brittle on POB, yeah? So, in this context, which is let's call it best case scenario, even though I'm being a bit not going too ham on all the stars aligning. This is the effect of Brittle. By the way, you can add custom modifiers to POB like this and to play with to see, have them active and have them not active. You can just put this behind it. So, because if you've ever programmed before, this is a comment, like any line with a hashtag behind is a comment. So I have this modified, if I put a hashtag behind it, it becomes a comment, and therefore it's not considered into the calculations. But boom, bada bing. This is the damage that Brittle brings to the table. That's a lot of damage, guys. That's a lot of damage. How much is that? 27 divided by 38. So that's 30% more damage we're getting from Brittle effect. Unless my quick maths wasn't off. 30% more damage we're getting from Brittle effect. I think it's pretty good. I think it's really, really, really good. It's cheap. You can get this as soon as you get to maps. It's just an implicit. You can buy some boots already good to go, like with some life, some resistances, and with this implicit, and you're good. You get mad damage, and you're not forced to use Alberon's Warpath. Which, by the way, when I decided to play this build, I was a bit sad to see everyone used Alberon's Warpath because I hate those boots, right? Like, and the reason I hate those boots is very simple. Fuck 20% movement speed. Like, honestly, 20% movement speed in my Path of Exile, that's disgusting. I mean, I understand that most people who play a build like this are mostly focused on bossing, so this doesn't affect them as much. But I think Skeleton Mages is a really good mapping build as well. It's a strong hybrid. I mean, there's a reason I use shield charge, right? Like, I like to go fast.